Are we about to see a huge bidding war for Sam Darnold? In addition to the Minnesota Vikings, these two teams, I believe, are going to push hard for the Vikings quarterback this offseason. I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into Verts. Sam Darnold, what a year this guy is having. Honestly, didn't have his best game on Monday Night Football against the Bears, but was good enough in a dominant win as the Vikings are now 12-2 on the season. I would argue the story of the NFL is Sam Darnold and this Vikings team this year. He's having a monster year. 29 touchdowns, 11 picks, I think is where he sits overall. And obviously, big decisions ahead for himself, for the Vikings. Obviously, they have J.J. McCarthy, who they just drafted in the first round. A lot of his future in Minnesota, talking about Darnold's, could depend on how he finishes this year, what happens in the postseason. But I think most people kind of assumed when McCarthy went down, okay, Darnold has a chance to play this whole year out, and then he'll go to some other team. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. I think there's a real chance the Vikings could bring him back. The way I see it, Sam Darnold is going to have three options this coming offseason with a wild card fourth option that isn't necessarily in his control. We'll tell you what that is here in just a moment as well. But we'll dive into those options here in just a second. But listen, we're growing like crazy here on Verts. Over 5,000 subscribers. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button here on this YouTube channel if you want daily NFL and college football content. We got you covered here on Verts as I react to all the big storylines, news, rumors, analysis, my opinions on everything surrounding the NFL and college football world. All right, option number one. I think re-signing with the Vikings on a 1 to 2 year contract is a very realistic option. I don't think a long-term deal with the Vikings, unless it's not a ton of guaranteed, like maybe, if you did a 4-year for 35 year, right? That'd be 4 for 140 with, half of it guaranteed. So it's really a 2+2. I guess that could be on the table, but I think what would be more likely if he stays in Minnesota, given J.J. McCarthy, a player they like and believe in, I think re-signing in Minnesota on a 1 or 2 year deal is option number one. Now, if I'm Darnold, I at least want a 2-year contract. If I'm staying in Minnesota, I think staying with the Vikings is something he should do. In fact, if I was him, I would stay in Minnesota. But you still got to take care of yourself financially and have some security as well. So I would probably push for like 2 years, $70 million with 50 guaranteed. He could probably get a little bit more on the open market, but if you take that type of deal, I think that's team friendly. I think that's fair. That kind of gets you in the Baker Mayfield type of realm in terms of average annual value. So something like that. Maybe you go a 3-year deal, but I don't think you're going to get a super long-term deal from Minnesota if you are Sam Darnold. But if you're Darnold, I think taking a little bit of a discount, considering all the places you've been, and it's been a mess. Jets, Carolina, had to get rebuilt as San Francisco's backup. Like, you finally have landed in a spot with A, a coach that believes in you, and B, a place you're playing good football. You've got weapons. You got a good offensive line. You got an awesome play caller. You got a chance to win. So I think this is option number one. Stick with the team that you're playing well with. Sure, maybe it's not a long-term solution, but play this out as long as you can because Kevin O'Connell has Sam Darnold playing his best football, and walking away from that would be a very, very big risk. Option number two, sign a long-term contract with the Indianapolis Colts. I look at the Colts right now, and they're talented. They've got Jonathan Taylor, who inexplicably fumbled through the end zone. I don't know how players keep doing that, but really good running game, solid offensive line, a couple of key free agents there they'll have to make decisions on, Ryan Kelly. But they have talented receivers. I'm a big Shane Steichen guy. I know there's some mixed opinions there, but if I'm Shane Steichen, I'm going to management. I'm saying I don't think Anthony Richardson is salvageable. He is. I get you get some big plays. He's still raw as a prospect, but Shane Steichen's going to be entering what, year 3, year 4? I think year 3 as the Colts head coach next year. Like, if it doesn't go well next year, you could get fired. Do you want to put it all on the line for Anthony Richardson? Now, he doesn't have a full choice. Chris Ballard's the GM. His job could be on the line as well. He's had a bunch of opportunities at quarterbacks here, but Anthony Richardson is completing 47% of his passes. Sam Darnold's completing 67% of his passes. We just saw Shane Steichen almost get to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. He had Jalen Hurts playing at a fringe MVP level the year they went to the Super Bowl in Philly when he was their offensive coordinator. That got him the Colts job. I just, if you can't complete at least the mid-50s percentage-wise, you can't function in this league. I can deal with the lower completion percentage if you're getting big, explosive plays, which Richardson does give you some, but 7 touchdowns, 11 picks, 47% completion percentage, to me, that does not work. Sam Darnold, I think with Shane Steichen, would work pretty well. So if you're Darnold, yes, staying in Minnesota is, in terms of comfortability and playing well, makes the most sense. But if you are going to leave, and if the Colts throw a lot of money at you in long-term security, that is the one team I'd be like, okay, good offensive coach, proven with different quarterbacks. I could get behind that if I was Sam Darnold in his camp. I would not do this. I would not go to the Tennessee Titans. And I do think Tennessee could get desperate and throw some big-time money at Sam Darnold. Do not fall in that trap. Brian Callahan feels lost. We have no idea what he is as a coach. Rand Carthen at GM has made some questionable moves. I think if you're Sam Darnold, you finally have some stability. I would rather take less money and less years and stay with Minnesota. And if it comes down to, like, if the Colts are an option, I would choose the Colts over the Titans, even if the money is less. Better organization, better head coach. I think signing with Tennessee would be a massive mistake. Now, maybe Callahan turns into a good coach, but we have no idea what he's going to be as a coach. They just benched Will Levis. They're going to need a quarterback. Chances are they're not going to get a top 2 pick to get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. So they may look at Darnold and say, we'll throw you $150 million. And that's going to be tough to turn down. But Sam Darnold's in year 7 of his career. He is on record saying he was seeing ghosts with the New York Jets. You're finally playing good ball. You want to risk it all going to the Tennessee Titans? That feels way too risky for me, so I would not do that if I was Sammy D. To me, staying with the Vikings is still the best option. But if you are going to leave, and if the Colts are interested, I would have to sign with Indianapolis before I went to Tennessee. And then the wild card option is this. The Vikings could franchise tag him and either keep him on a 1-year deal for about $41 million, or could they tag and trade him? If they make the decision to move on, I still think there's a good chance they tag him and they try to get something for him. Now, if the entire league knows they're rolling with McCarthy, you're not going to get like 2 first-round picks, but maybe get a day 2 pick. Maybe a team like the Titans or Colts, again, get desperate, throw you a second-round pick for Sam Darnold and take on that $41 million and negotiate a long-term deal. If Minnesota finishes this year strong, let's say they, regardless if they win the division or not, let's say they win at least 1 playoff game. Even if the Vikings pivot to McCarthy, letting Darnold hit the free agent market and losing him for nothing other than a future comp pick feels like you're not getting enough value there. I do think the franchise tag would become a real possibility. So, again, if it's in Darnold's control, re-signing with Minnesota on a 1 or 2 year deal, I guess it would have to be at least 2 years, because if it's just 1, it would have to be more than the $41 million franchise tag, I would think, unless he's just going to do them a solid. 2-year deal, though, again, you could get it down to like $35 a year, manipulate the cap a little bit. Because that's the thing about the franchise tag. It's $41 million, and it all counts against your books. Vikings have $60+ million in cap space. They can do that, but with limited draft picks, they would like to have more money to spend in free agency. So that's the way I see it. There's not a ton of other teams, I think, that are going to be in the Darnold sweepstakes. I think the Giants get Cam Ward. I think the Raiders get Shedeur Sanders. The Colts and the Titans, I think, are the teams to watch. And I'll say this. If you're those 2 teams, that's a pretty manageable division with Houston and Jacksonville. You get this version of Sam Darnold, especially if you're the Colts. I'd be wary in Tennessee, but especially the Colts. You could win the division next year. That's very much on the table for a team landing Sam Darnold if this is the version of the player you're getting. Obviously, it's 1-year sample size. He has not been anywhere close to this at any other point in his career. But man, what a story he's been this year. There's no question about that. Where will Sam Darnold play in 2025? Let us know in the comments. Do you think it's going to be the Vikings, Colts, Titans? Maybe there's another team out there that I'm missing. The Raiders and Giants would be the other two, but I just think they're going to draft Cam Ward and Shador Sanders. So give us your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. More videos throughout the week. We're going to be live on Friday night for a Indiana Notre Dame college football playoff watch party. My guy and producer Cullen, going to be a fun time, so subscribe and join us for that. We'll have you covered here on For Verts. We'll see you guys soon here on the channel.